The Texas Longhorns are just under 48 hours away from hosting one of the biggest recruiting weekends in the country. They're expected to host about 20 official visitors this weekend. So let's bring on Gerry Hamilton of Inside Texas to discuss. And before we get to the biggest visitor of the weekend, 5-star plus edge Colin Simmons, Gerry, we got to talk about 5-star Micah Hudson.
Why? Why, Josh?
Here's why. Because you've been coming on this show for the entire offseason, and Texas fans have been coming for me in the comment section of these videos for even entertaining the idea that Texas Tech could be in a good spot for the number one wide receiver in the state of Texas, Micah Hudson. And yesterday, Inside Texas put out the news that Hudson would not be on campus this weekend for his much anticipated official visit. And then to pour salt in the wound, Gerry, you predicted him to Texas Tech. Life comes at you fast in recruiting. Gerry, what is happening here with Texas and Micah Hudson?
Yeah, it's interesting. Micah made an unofficial visit to Texas last week before he made the official visit to Texas Tech. So, Josh, that's always somewhat of a trigger that, okay, Texas is trying to get him on campus before he goes to Tech. There's a reason for that. And normally that's not a great reason. If you're very confident in where you stand with a prospect, you're good rolling into that June 23rd official visit the week after Texas Tech. That wasn't the case. Leaving that visit, I was told by a source that they felt like it was 50-50. So if you're leaving Texas and the feeling is it's 50-50, that's pretty good news for Texas Tech heading in the official visit weekend. Then after the official visit to Texas Tech, Josh, Hudson's mom texted me Monday, said, yeah, visit's still on, unofficial to A&M Thursday before he plays for his high school team at the state 7-on-7 in College Station. Then official visit, him and the mom were going to make the official visit to Texas Saturday, Sunday after state 7-on-7. Well, then yesterday the mom let us know that she had canceled the official visit to Texas this weekend. So I immediately go to the On3 RPM and put the pick in because he's taken one official visit. And I don't think this recruitment's going on a lot longer. We'll see.
Wow. So the official visit is not going to be used this weekend, which, okay, it doesn't bode well for Texas because it was scheduled and Hudson and his family canceled it. But that does mean that Texas still has it. So even if Micah Hudson goes and commits to Texas Tech, say this weekend or, in the month of July, I was looking at Texas's schedule, and in late November, they host Texas Tech at home. Do you think that down the road, because I know Texas fans are kind of still licking their wounds from this, but do you think down the road that official visit gets used maybe for that weekend?
Well, Texas, one thing about Steve Sarkisian, I kind of used the term recruit through the whistle. We ask players to play through the whistle. We got to ask coaches to recruit through the whistle. One thing Sarkisian and his staff have shown is they recruit through the whistle. Go back to Kelvin Banks' recruitment 2 years ago, who was a 5-star offensive tackle. He committed to Oregon, really surprised A&M and Texas both with the Oregon choice. Texas stayed on him, and they stayed on him enough to be in a position. They already had some things working with Kelvin Banks, but they were in a position then when Mario Cristobal accepted the Miami job. That kid committed to Texas within 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. So Texas won't give up. The only way they would walk away from Micah Hudson is if they filled their wide receiver needs, which I'm sure is something we're going to talk about shortly.
Yeah, actually, let's get right into it. Okay, let's put Micah Hudson aside because we do think they're going to double back on him at some point. But for now, who jumps into the priority spot at the wide receiver position if Hudson is, let's say, temporarily out of the picture?
Yeah, I think the top two headed into last weekend when Hudson visited Tech was Ryan Wingo and Micah Hudson. And Ryan Wingo was on campus in Austin last weekend for his official visit. And, the news we've got out of Austin since that visit is Texas thinks they have a puncher's chance there. He was hosted by Arch Manning, right? I don't think you use Arch Manning as a host on a wide receiver unless you think you have a realistic chance and he's a guy that you're all in for. So we're watching Wingo. He's at Missouri this weekend. He's visited Georgia. He's visited Michigan. So we'll see which way that goes. I mean, that's not a bad guy to have host Ryan Wingo, especially considering Arch Manning picked Texas over Georgia last recruiting cycle. So we'll see what happens. They got 4-star Freddie DeBose, who's an upside freaky athlete guy. Towards ACL, missed his junior year. He committed on Monday. So they have one 4-star receiver in the fold. Then Parker Livingstone, a 4-star out of Lovejoy up in the DFW area. He's visiting this weekend. I think he makes an early July decision that favors Texas. And then watch out for Terry Bussey. Terry Bussey, Texas recruited as an athlete, 5-star number 17 in the country in the On3 industry ranking. Texas was recruiting him as an athlete. They've switched to recruit him as a slot receiver. So is that the guy that could really, if Texas can make a run there and get kind of race past Texas A&M, who I think is the favorite for Bussey, could that be the potential replacement? Could that fill up the wide receiver class? We'll have to see. We don't know when Bussey's going to make a decision. He was at LSU yesterday unofficially. He's at Texas this weekend. He was at Oklahoma last weekend. A&M's been pushing for that late July or in-season visit. So we'll see when Bussey makes a decision.
Hey, not a bad consolation gift if you can land the number 4 ranked athlete in the country who is absolutely electric. All right,
yes.
Let's move on to another big-time visitor that's going to be in Austin this weekend. He comes out of the state of Louisiana. He's 5-star defensive lineman Dominic McKinley, and I bring him up knowing that Texas has some work to do heading into this visit, but knowing that LSU missed out on 6 of the top 10 ranked recruits in the state of Louisiana last year, you got to think Dominic McKinley, who's the number 1 recruit in the 24 class out of the state of Louisiana, you got to think that Texas has a shot here. What are your sources saying as he heads into this big visit weekend?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Josh. Kids left the state of Louisiana last year, right? And because Brian Kelly maybe wasn't the sexiest or most popular hire, right? But then he goes and beats Alabama and gets to the SEC title game in year 1. So things have changed. Let's get that out of the way right now. Texas had a lot of success in Louisiana. I mean, when Steve Sarkisian hired this staff, he hired a staff built to recruit Louisiana. Terry Joseph, Bo Davis, Brandon Harris as director of recruiting. They had other guys on staff at the time as well. They have a lot of time spent and a lot of years in relationships in the state of Louisiana, obviously. And getting Arch Manning, Derek Williams, and those guys in the class last year really helps you in the state. On Dominic McKinley, it's very interesting recruitment. He's a little more quiet than a lot of guys. He's not out there on social media as much. He doesn't do as many in-depth interviews. The one thing, the constant I keep hearing in regard to his recruitment, Josh, we'll see if it plays out, as parents being able to get in the car and drive to his college destination. So that would put LSU, Texas, and Texas A&M as the schools that are most likely that you're going to get in a car and drive to. I know they like Oklahoma. They were back there this last weekend, visited Ohio State June 2nd through 4th. Then we're at A&M the 9th through 11th, and now Texas. Alabama, LSU are pushing for those fall in-season visits. That's another thing, is how long is this recruitment going to play out? But I can tell you this, the communication from McKinley and the family with Texas has been very consistent the whole month of June leading into this official visit this weekend. The academic piece could help Texas there a little bit. We'll have to see how much.
All right, Gerry, I'm looking at the visitor list. There's 20 recruits coming in, and one of the common themes that I see is there is going to be a heavy presence of IMG Academy prospects in Austin this week. And looking at who's going to be there: 4-star running back Jarrett Gibson, 4-star safety Jordan Johnson-Rebel, 4-star D lineman TJ Lindsey, and 4-star defensive lineman Jaden Jackson. All great players. Who do you think among this group Texas has the best shot at?
Yeah, and by the way, Josh, that's new for Texas fans. They're not accustomed to being in on a lot of IMG guys and actually having a chance to get them. I think the move to the SEC is impactful for Texas recruiting in the state of Florida and IMG. Now, Jordan Johnson-Rebel, I believe Texas has a big lead for, but he's originally from Fort Worth Brewer. So he's a Texas kid from the DFW area. He'll be making his official visit, obviously, and he's best friends with Corey and Gibson from Lancaster. They both grew up in Fort Worth together. The moms are very close. So I think Texas is in a pretty good spot with Jordan Johnson-Rebel. Jarrett Gibson, look, Texas has been the odds-on favorite for a long time. Texas only bringing in 2 running backs for official visits in June. That means Tashard Choice is pretty dang confident and Tristan Clark and Jarrett Gibson. Miami made a big run. Tennessee made a big push last weekend. We'll see where this one goes, but Texas has been a heavy favorite for a while. Jaden Jackson, look, a lot of people just think he's automatically going to go to Ohio State from Brownsburg, Indiana. But I was told by somebody close to the IMG program heading into June that Texas and Ohio State and Miami, it could go any of those directions. And Ohio State obviously made their big push the 9th through 11th in Miami last weekend. Texas gets, assuming it sounds like the last official visit in June. He went to Florida June 2nd through 4th. But I think Texas has more than a puncher's chance with Jaden Jackson. One thing Texas has going for him on D-line in this cycle is they're probably going to lose 3 guys, Josh, 3 of the top 4 in the rotation. And Jaden Jackson's an early enrollee. TJ Lindsey's an early enrollee. Some of these guys that visited last weekend for Texas were early enrollees. So there's a chance there to get signed 3 or 4 really good defensive linemen. I think of those IMG guys, TJ Lindsey probably is the longest shot for Texas headed into the weekend. I think that's A&M over Miami right now.
All right, Jerry, it's time. Texas fans are here. They want to know about 5-star plus edge Colin Simmons out of Duncanville High School right there in the state of Texas. Heading into this visit, what are your sources saying?
Yeah, look, if there's one must-get recruit for Texas in the cycle, it's Colin Simmons, #1 edge prospect out of the powerhouse Duncanville. Look, everything I'm hearing is the same as I have been hearing. LSU, Texas. I mean, I know Miami made a run. They're catching some run there. But the one thing that's been consistent throughout this process is Colin has very high percentage chance he's going to play in the SEC. Right. And at the end of the day, closeness to home, being close to mom, little brother are going to be key factors in this recruitment. Now, everything I'm hearing continues to trend towards Texas and LSU as the top 2. We'll see if that holds. I mean, Colin Simmons, one thing I appreciate, and I love Colin, he is street smart for days. He understands social media. He understands the recruiting process for kids nowadays. And he has a lot of fun to cover. He's going to keep people guessing and wondering. I still think at the end of the day, Josh, this is going to come down to the 2 schools that he told y'all when he was in Nashville for the On3 NIL Elite Series. LSU and Texas were the top 2. I still think that's where it's coming down to at the end of the day.
Texas is going to get their shot at him this week. And, Jerry, before we get out of here, let's give Texas fans some good news. Who do you have on commit watch heading into the weekend?
Yeah, it's interesting. Will somebody commit Saturday or Sunday, or will it be in the days after? I think the first week in July is going to be a lot of guys off the board nationally, right? Daniel Cruz from Richland, who I think the industry rankings are starting to kind of adjust to where college coaches see him. He's up to inside the top 200 now, one of the top center prospects in the country. He's been a Texas lean for a long time. He went to Ohio State June 2nd through 4th. Then he was at A&M and Oklahoma last weekend. They brought in Creed Humphrey. Oklahoma did a great job trying to close the gap on Texas. I'll be surprised if that doesn't go Texas' way. I've had an RPM for, I can't even remember, since the kid was in 8th grade for Texas, it feels like. So I'll stick with that until I'm proven wrong. And then, look, quickly after, I could see Alex January, defensive lineman at Duncanville. At Texas, LSU are the top 2 there. His father, Mike January, played at Texas. Family has season tickets to Texas games. I could see that one coming off the board sometime in Texas' favor. So how many guys are going to commit this weekend? Look, there's always surprises, right? Santana Wilson came in and committed to Texas last weekend. But I think Daniel Cruz is the best bet. Could a kid like Micah Hudson, the offensive lineman out of Arlington Martin, he's been A&M, he's been to USC, and he's got Texas. We'll see what happens there.
Well, it would be a big pickup. Daniel Cruz is somebody that you've come on this show multiple times and said is one of the biggest priorities in this class. So, Jerry, we only hit on about 50% of the guys coming in. So if you want more, go to Inside Texas. You guys are going to have it covered all weekend. Gerry Hamilton, thanks for stopping by the Inside Scoop.
You got it, Josh.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.